Hey guys, it's Dawson Walker here, and we're going to dive into the Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King by J.R.R. Tolkien. Before we do that, I have a little activity for you guys. So a reoccurring theme in this book was power and how people possess it and what they do with it. So on a piece of paper, I just want you to write what power means to you, how people get it, what they do with it when they do have it, and then lastly, have you ever been in a situation where you have the power and what did you do with it? Okay, so before choosing this title, I watched the movie a couple of years ago with my brother, and I really just didn't grasp the meaning of why the ring was evil, or I just thought it had cool visuals. The movie was awesome, but I truly didn't understand the true meaning of it. But after reading the book, I came to the conclusion, in my opinion, I mean, everyone's gonna have different opinions. That's just how you interpret things, but in my opinion, I just thought that the ring wasn't evil itself. It was more of a burden. So if the person that came across the ring had a burden of death in the family, anything that's just deep inside them, and they haven't developed that as a person yet, then the shadow, I referred to it as the shadow, is going to be put in spotlight. And the only thing that can stop it is your ego and superego. So I didn't think the ring itself was truly evil just by looking at it. You just had to have a burden or something specifically that brought it out, technically. It was more, I used the words, Tolkien demonstrates the torments of inner self conflict. So it's like the inner self, that it's like a conflict between character versus character, itself. So, Gollum, in the very beginning, he killed his cousin, actually murdered him for the ring. And ever since then, he's had a thirst or really bad hunger for the ring. And this is because he didn't take care of his burdens, and the shadow overcasted everything. And he refers to the ring as precious, and he has to have it. So, Frodo receives the ring from his cousin, but not through murder or anything, and his mission is to destroy it in Mount Doom in the flames. And him, Sam, and Gollum are gonna go on this journey and try to destroy this ring. And it's kind of weird, not weird, but kind of crazy that Gollum's the one leading the way, but Gandalf insists that he leads the way, just because I guess he knows the way. And excuse me. He actually had a quote in here. Let me find it real quick. Gandalf states, even Gollum may have something yet to do. So I feel like this is his role in the movie. And he'll have another role in the movie that I'll get to in the end when they actually reach Mount Doom. But first I'm going to jump into the journey they had. So the ring is obviously very hard to carry, especially if you have a burden. So it's kind of draining Frodo in a way, and Sam is his ultimate sidekick. I mean, he does everything. He even tries to carry the ring. Actually, he does carry the ring, but he's not affected by it. But Frodo insists that he carries it, and actually one point in the story, Frodo lets his shadows overcast everything, and he states, I'm here for a mission. Don't quote me directly. Actually, you can, actually. Let me find it real quick. Okay. Frodo stirred and spoke with a clear voice, indeed with a voice clearer and more powerful than Sam had heard him use. I have come, but I do not choose to now do what I have came to do. I will not do this deed. The ring is mine. So he's saying he's not going to destroy the ring. He wants the ring. This is a perfect example of what happened to Gollum. And the thirst is just becoming too much for him to bear, and it's just draining Frodo in a way. Then he snaps out of it, and the burden is taken away. It actually states it in the book, word for word, his burden was removed with no evil in his eyes or anything like that. So it kind of made me happy, because I kind of made that inference before I got to this part in the book, which was pretty cool. So I kind of did stick with that the ring was more of a burden than it was evil. But originally when I came before opening the book, I just thought the ring's evil, and that's what I was going to find out. But actually I changed my point of view. Okay, so when they reach Mount Doom, Frodo and Gollum are at the top, and Gollum, and the ring is, keep in mind, this is the most powerful the ring is going to get, because it's like the conclusion of the story, I guess, and this is just, Mount Doom is where the ring is most vulnerable to people. So they reach the top, and Gollum's thirst for it is unreal, so he bites Frodo's finger off, and then they both, Gollum and the ring, fall in the flames, which ultimately destroys the ring, which needed to be done, but Frodo's mission was technically failed, which is kind of like a bittersweet ending. But I think Tolkien did this because he was in the war, he was a soldier, and they all know there's really not any good endings to that, especially coming home. So he really, really related it to World War One, and I think what Frodo's going through at the end after the war is kind of like a PTSD in a way. He's like the only one that's like kind of gloomy and sad, and I just refer to it as PTSD because people after the war, I mean, they're happy they won, which Frodo probably wasn't a way, but his job wasn't done. I mean, his job wasn't completed, and then I feel like because his job wasn't completed, it kind of referred to like people coming home from war and having like PTSD or like bad memories of the war. So Tolkien does a great job with the fantasy and fantastic. I mean, it really feels like you're really fighting the same battles as the characters are. You're feeling the pain that Frodo is bearing the ring. You're feeling drained. I mean, obviously not physically drained, but you can just relate to them and see how serious it really is. So I kind of recommend reading the book first. Actually, I 100% recommend reading the book first if you haven't done either of them. But just because everything that you read in the book is going to be brought to your eyes in the movie, and there's a lot more detail in the book, and it's a lot better to do that first. I wish I would have done that. Let me see. So I had a hard time kind of distinguishing the difference between the fantasy and the fantastic. So I came to the conclusion that fantasy is kind of like magical, make-believe, and really can't happen no matter what. And the fantastic is kind of like a aiding help with the fantasy. So like I use the journey that Frodo, Sam, and Gollum are taking could happen, which is kind of fantastic. But the magic and the creatures they encounter and like everything else along those lines is kind of like the fantasy, but he does a really good job of balancing the two. So really after reading the book, I already had an appreciation for like the film work, but after reading the book and then tying together with the film, it's like my viewpoint has been completely changed. I just have a really deep appreciation for what they've done, and it's incredible. Like, I want to read the rest of them now, and I'm really not a really big book reader, but this is like really cool to get into. Especially I like books that have movies too, because if you get lost, you can always watch the movie to help you. But I'm definitely going to read the book before I watch the movie next time. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you.